I'm interested in crime stories because they're elevated. The stakes are life and death. You die. You want money. You know, and so that automatically it's a little more exciting than our everyday lives. And so I like watching those shows, and I like watching the good guys versus the bad guys, et cetera, and trying to see that the good guys aren't always so good and the bad guys aren't always so bad. So I like to watch those shows, and as a result, I like to make those shows. That's a great question, which is how do you balance the requirements of telling a good dramatic story with the real facts? The answer is this. I have to tell a story that's interesting. And if I have to, if yeah, what I try to do is achieve the truth, even if I wasn't there for the conversation that Pablo Escobar was having. In other words, I need to think about what it must have felt like, but my fidelity to the absolute truth is less than my fidelity to telling a great dramatic story. I flew to Medellin for a scout, and on the plane, somebody saw me working on Narcos, and they said, "Oh, my brother was killed by him. He was and then when I landed, there was a driver to take me somewhere, and he said, Pablo Escobar gave me a job when I was 18 years old. I love that man." So I heard someone who hated him and someone who loved him in the space of 1 hour. And so my responsibility, I think, is to try to do the best I can to make it dramatic and entertaining. I'm aware that some people are going to be unhappy that he's presented at all, but I wasn't aware of that before Narcos. It was after Narcos. So I guess the answer is I do my best to try to represent the character as I see them. In order to do the research for Narcos, I interviewed the drug enforcement agents from the United States who went to catch Escobar. They were part of the show. So in other words, they were hired by the show. So they answered my questions. I read a lot of books. I read books about Escobar. I spoke with military generals in Colombia who chased Escobar. Spoke to journalists who covered Escobar. So in other words, I did research all around the periphery of the subject, and then did my thing. There's something very exciting about having creative control over a project in television. In the United States, the television writer is also the producer and is responsible for the output of the show. So you could let that get to your head, but I try not to. And what you do is you hire people who are so good at their jobs, costumes, locations, production. You hire people. So for me, it's a matter of hiring the best people who do what I could never do.